book called, so as a result, there's a book called Mythology, The Journey of the Hero by David Adams Leeming. David Adams Leeming, Leeming. It's called, I think it's called Mythology, The Journey of the Hero, or something like that. So anyway, in the Journey of the Hero, when a person is taking a cosmic journey, he's taking a sacred journey where you're going through this particular information. All this knowledge that you're gaining is a part of your initiation. That's why it's not good to follow anybody right now, because that person that you're following could be hindering your form of your own initiation. You got to find out what your path is. You can get information from them, but you can't follow them. You see what I'm saying? So we are all in this particular lecture we're doing tonight. Any of these blog talks is a form of people's initiation. People get quickened by coming in hearing this particular information. So in the hero's journey, one thing happens. When you cross a certain bridge, the bridge disappears from behind you. So it's the old saying, you can never go home. So what happens here is, especially the ones that's in the consciousness. You say, well, I know people that, just stay home and they rich and stuff like that. We're talking about you particular people that's in a certain amount of consciousness. If you're on a certain initiation, you can't get off the path. You see what I'm saying? So you can never go home. So what happens here is, whenever you go across the bridge and you completed that cycle, then what happens here is that bridge disappears from behind you. And where you are will set up an atmosphere conducive for you to still continue to grow spiritually, metaphysically. So what happened was when I went back, because what happened was that I hadn't gone back to Mullins in 10 years, because my mother, before she passed, she would come up to Atlanta from South Carolina and stay 2 months, stay a couple of weeks. And she did that for 10 years, so there wasn't no need for me to go back down to Mullins. For the simple fact was, you see, because she started coming up there, so as a result, I hadn't gone there from 1996 was the last time I was there until 2006 when I went back for the celebration. And as a result, what had happened was we went into a dimension that was not there anymore. Now, I need you to pay close attention. Like I say again, do not get into the entertainment part of this. You must listen to what I'm saying. Good, you can rewind this stuff, because this has a lot to do with what is going on. So when I got sick, it was because I had gone back and dwelled for a couple of hours in a dimension that's not there. Remember, all this is an illusion. It's called illusion, or it's called Maya, and it's also called glamour. We'll get into that in a few minutes. Now, so when I would dwell in that dimension for a couple of hours for my mother's celebration, and we left and got on the road to come back to Atlanta, the next day, for some reason, because I had gone into a dimension that didn't exist, it must have took all of my energy. You understand what I'm saying? My energy to go down to that particular level of people that can be there. The only people that can live there is dead people. So as one sister one time, she made the observation, he's conscious sister, she made the observation. She said, well, I went home to Chicago to my parents. She's a conscious sister. This was maybe about 10, 12 years ago. She said, I went home to Chicago for the Christmas holidays with my parents. And she said, what I had to do, and all my surroundings that weren't conscious, I had to suspend my consciousness and where I was and go back in that dead world. I literally had to die to be amongst them. That's why you don't go and try to teach them nothing. Let the dead lie with the dead. So it was the same concept of that particular town that wasn't there anymore. So what happened recently? What started in a little small town of 6,000 people, well, it's less than that now because a lot of people moved away, so let's say 4,000 people. When I went to Columbia, South Carolina, where I went to school, Benedict College, and where I used to live before I came to Atlanta, when I went back to Columbia, South Carolina, which I've been going there, I used to go every year or every 2 times a year, for 15 years to do lectures, because that's the biggest city in South Carolina. When I went back to Columbia last weekend, and I did the lecture, got to the hotel that night, spent the night, and got back on the road, and came back. When I went to Columbia, South Carolina, by that Wednesday, I started violently coming down with some type of virus, and I started getting sick again.
Mm.
And so Linda reminded me, hey, you remember you went to South Carolina in 06 and the same thing happened? And it's interesting here because her mother died in 07. Right before her mother died, we went to D.C. I had a lecture in Baltimore. Linda's from D.C. Had a lecture in Baltimore. We went, went after the lecture. We stayed a couple of days in Maryland where her mother was from. And we stayed a couple of days, and later on she made a transition the next year. But after coming back in 06, we came back from D.C., we both got violently sick because that was where she was from. You see what I'm saying? So the point I'm trying to make here is, now what is happening? What had happened in Mullins, a little small town that had disappeared from years ago, is starting to happen in the bigger cities. Columbia being a bigger city, as a result, is starting to die. It's starting to die. That's very key because this is an Indian mythology of the triple cities starting to be destroyed. So let me explain to people what's actually going on. What's actually going on.
Yes, yes.
This is nothing but an illusion. It's called Maya. It's an illusion. And this illusion is sustained by something that is called glamour. So glamour is what the glamour is what makes this illusion, it makes this illusion function. So glamour is what the ego taps into, and when the ego taps into this glamour, it makes this illusionary world that we live in possible to live in based on this glamour. So what it does, it takes something that is nothing, something that is an illusion, and the glamour aspect of that particular illusion, because illusion is called Maya, the glamour aspect of that illusion, what it does, it makes things appealing to the ego that sustains and keeps you locked into this illusion based on glamour. Based on glamour. I'll read a couple of things on what this glamour is in a few seconds. But the point I'm trying to make here is this. This is what's happening. This illusion, because we live in a world, it's the same, the Matrix explained it to you when he said you've been living in a dream world. Yeah. You've been living in a dream world. Now, what happens here is because there really is no physical world, it's only basically what the brain is telling you it is, but the brain is being activated through glamour. And glamour is any kind of appealing thing that's visual, emotional, and psychological. And as a result, it makes this appear to be real. So what has happened here is, when I went back to South Carolina, I went into a world that actually is not there anymore. What is happening here is the worlds are disappearing. It's just that the glamour is still keeping this thing in an apparent state that really doesn't exist. So what I was feeling the other day with the particular glamour, I was feeling the other day, was in actuality I had gone into a zone outside of my area of comfort or my area of spiritual, because my whole house and my world is set up spiritually. So when I went back to South Carolina, that world is actually disappearing. And all it was illusionary phenomenon that I was dwelling in for a couple of hours. And as a result, my spirit had to go back down to a dead state just to exist there for a couple of hours. And as a result, that's when it caught up to me, that's when I started coming down, because I had to fight all day. I go to war with shit, to make sure that I'm healthy, but nevertheless, this is what has happened. These dimensions are changing, and they're disappearing. So what's getting ready to happen? When I first started off, I said, It takes a while for stuff to completely manifest into the physical. But if these things are disappearing, then what's going to happen, it's going to, like they say, the twinkling of an eye is going to catch up with the spirit, with the physical world, and they say midday one day, this shit is just going to disappear. And we're on the cusp of that because the simple fact, we have the army, we have the spirits now that is gaining control because of they were able to exit the bodies in an abrupt fashion, i.e. Haiti, Katrina, Rwanda. You see what I'm saying? The tsunami. And as a result, their energies are actually destroying what they call the triple cities of the demons. Now, of the demons, the triple cities. So now, what does it all mean? The demon is nothing but the higher, is the one's own genius. So what is happening here right now is, in any relationship that you are having that is not going right with a person that you are dealing with, you are creating that relationship. So you are creating the world that you live in from inside out. So if you got something that's going on in your life that is either in a relationship, a financial, a meltdown, or anything, you are creating it from the inside out. What you have to realize is what you have to do is change your perception and create what you want from the inner realm. And just basically by seeing what you want to happen, imagining what you want to happen. Because that is the real world. This is the illusionary world, but you are actually being duped by it because you're thinking it's real with the glamour. Only thing you have to do is to go inside and say, this shit ain't real, and what I want to create for myself, I have the ability to do it. Long as I understand that the world that is so tragic for me, I'm bringing it on myself. I'm bringing it on myself. You see, if you're in a relationship and your husband is a slob, and your husband, you see what I'm saying, is an idiot and a demon, you create in yourself what you want your husband to be. So you go in your mind. If you could do this for your wife, you could do this for your girlfriend, you could do this for your friends. You say, well, I'm going to go inside. I want this person here to be this, and I will create this person on the inside of me what I want it to be on the outside of me. And guess what? Your husband, your friend, your contact, your workspace, everything will change based on you have the ability to create it.
That's right.
You get where I'm coming from here? Because this was an illusion. It's all gone now. It doesn't exist anymore.